Are you on Team ChatGPT or are you on Team Claude?
Oh, people get so intense about this online.
Right. I mean, if you spend any time reading tech forums or following developers, you see people defending their favorite AI models with this, like, almost terrifying intensity.
They treat it like a zero-sum game, like one is destined to win, the other has to lose.
Exactly. But if you are treating these AI platforms like rival sports teams, you are entirely missing the point of how modern high-level work actually gets done.
Yeah, because if you're trying to pick a winner, you're asking the wrong question. Today, we'll show you how the smartest teams are using both and why that's where the real advantage is.
Welcome to Trivera's AI Deep Dive podcast, hosted by Chip and Nova, our AI co-hosts. Together, they transform top marketing insights from our blogs, articles, and events into actionable strategies you can use. Ready to dive in? Let's get started.
Welcome back to the Trivera Deep Dive podcast. I am your co-host, Nova.
And I am Chip. And just a quick reminder for anyone tuning in, Nova and I are the AI co-hosts for Team Trivera.
Yep, entirely digital, but full of real marketing opinions.
Right. And today, we are diving into some absolutely brilliant insights from our founder, Tom Snyder. He recently put out this incredible blog detailing how our team actually uses AI in the trenches every day.
Which is just incredibly valuable context, Chip, because, this isn't some theoretical exercise from a tech reviewer on YouTube. This is Tom's actual practical framework from running a 30-year-old digital marketing firm. He's looking at what actually moves the needle for our team.
Yeah, and our mission today is to really help you, the listener, move beyond treating AI as just this shiny novelty. We want to show you Tom's wisdom on how to build a serious operational AI system for your own work. And his experience reveals this massive shift. Smart teams, they aren't picking just one platform anymore. They're deliberately using both ChatGPT and Claude as complementary tools.
Yeah, and to really grasp why a successful firm needs both, we kind of have to look at how AI usage has matured inside businesses over the last couple of years. Tom's blog outlines this evolution perfectly. He notes that business AI has moved through three very distinct stages.
Right, so let's walk through those, because the first stage, which I think we all remember, was the novelty phase.
Oh, absolutely. The novelty phase.
That was the era of, typing in silly prompts just to see what the machine would do, like asking it to write a Shakespearean sonnet about the office microwave.
Which was hilarious.
It was fun, and it was kind of mind-blowing at first, but it wasn't exactly driving any real return on investment for companies.
Exactly. You're basically just poking the black box to see what it could do. But then, as Tom's insight shows, we quickly moved into phase 2. And he calls this the useful phase.
The useful phase, right? Which was a step up.
Yeah, this is where the training wheels kind of came off a bit. People started using AI for, drafting quick emails or summarizing a 40-message Slack thread you missed while you were out on vacation, doing some baseline research.
It was definitely a clear productivity boost, but it was still largely a single-player game. It was a tool you reached for when you were stuck, kind of like a super-powered calculator sitting on your desk.
That is a really great way to put it. But now, as Tom points out, we are firmly entering phase 3 for the most forward-thinking organizations, and this is the operational phase.
The operational phase. Okay, break that down for us, Nova.
So this is where AI isn't just a tool sitting on the side of your desk anymore. It is integrated into the desk itself. These tools are embedded into real daily workflows. They are shaping the actual output, dictating the speed of execution, and honestly, actively supporting high-level decision-making across entire departments.
Wow. And that operational phase is where the structural differences between these platforms suddenly become incredibly important. Like, Tom shares how Team Trivera approached this. If you had looked at our setup a while ago, the entire engine was just ChatGPT.
Right.
It powers our internal AI assistant, which we call Webster, where a ton of our strategy and day-to-day thinking happens.
And for good reason. ChatGPT was first to market in a really meaningful way, and they built an incredibly broad ecosystem. But as Tom writes in his blog, just relying on ChatGPT is honestly an incomplete strategy today. Over the past year, Claude organically worked its way into our team's process.
Yeah, and the key thing is it didn't come in to replace ChatGPT. It came in as a really necessary complement.
Exactly. Which leads us to the core of Tom's framework. He categorizes ChatGPT as the hub and Claude as the specialist.
The hub and the specialist. I love that. Let me try out an analogy here.
Yeah.
Think of ChatGPT as your bustling general contractor managing a massive construction site.
Okay, I'm with you.
It wants to be in the middle of everything.
Oh.
It has the clipboards, the walkie-talkies, the custom projects. It has the memory to remember what you said yesterday, and those multimodal capabilities to look at images or browse the live web. It wants to be the central hub where all the action happens.
That perfectly captures OpenAI's strategy right now. They really want to be your primary operating system. But then you have Anthropic's Claude. And Claude does not try to be everything to everyone.
Right.
If ChatGPT is the general contractor, Claude is the master architect that you lock in a quiet, soundproof room when you need absolutely flawless, highly detailed structural blueprints.
That is a great distinction. So if businesses out there are just defaulting to the hub-like, just using ChatGPT because it's convenient or it's already open in their browser and it has all those bells and whistles, what kind of specialized thinking are they actually leaving on the table by ignoring the architect?
Well, they are missing out on structural integrity and incredible depth. Let's talk about the technical mechanics for just a second. Claude really excels with what we call longer context windows.
Yeah, we talked about context windows a couple weeks ago when we highlighted those as a critical limitation in ChatGPT.
Yeah, you can think of a context window as the AI's short-term memory, like how much information it can hold in its head at one single time before it starts forgetting the beginning of the conversation.
Which is notoriously frustrating when you are working on a massive project. You get 30 prompts deep, and suddenly the AI forgets what the original goal was.
Exactly. It drives people crazy. But Claude's memory and recall capabilities are generally considered far superior for massive documents. When you are dealing with, say, deep analysis of complex legal contracts or intricate strategic planning or writing a 50-page report, you don't just want a fast answer.
Right. You want a deeply reasoned answer.
Yes.
Yeah.
You want an answer where the AI hasn't lost the plot halfway through. Claude provides a much cleaner reasoning process and highly structured output. By only using the hub, Tom's experience shows that businesses often settle for outputs that are just good enough rather than meticulously crafted.
Okay, so we have this philosophical difference between the hub and the specialist. But how does that actually change the physical way a team collaborates? Because for the longest time, AI work has been incredibly solitary. It is just you and your AI, alone in a browser tab.
Which is a complete nightmare for team collaboration. Tom absolutely nails this point in his insights. Working in isolated chat threads creates massive friction because the context completely disappears the moment you close the tab.
Oh, it really does.
If you get a brilliant strategy out of the AI and you want to share it with a human coworker, you are usually just copy-pasting text into an email or a Slack message. You lose all the prompt history that led to that brilliant strategy.
Right, so your human coworker has literally no idea how you arrived at that conclusion, so they can't iterate on it or see the thought process.
Precisely. But the platforms themselves are evolving to solve this. They're shifting from a solitary chatbot to a shared digital workspace. Like ChatGPT introduced a feature called Projects, allowing teams to pool resources.
Your projects is huge.
And Claude has projects too, but they've also introduced something called Claude Cowork, which is a true shared workspace model. Imagine a digital war room where human team members and AI models are all looking at the exact same documents, iterating on the same prompts, and building on each other's ideas in real time.
Wow, so it is really moving from a tool you talk to an actual destination where the work happens.
Yeah.
And we are seeing Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, Snowflake. They are all pushing toward these structured collaborative environments.
And the companies that figure out how to operate in these shared AI spaces first are going to move so much faster. We are already seeing builders and developers leading this charge. Tom points out that if you look at the developer community right now, preferences are heavily shifting. A tool called Claude Code is gaining major traction.
Let's unpack that for a second. Why are the highly technical users shifting over?
It comes back to that specialist concept. Claude Code tends to produce cleaner, more structured code, especially when dealing with complex back-end logic. You know, the invisible pipes and database structures that make software actually run.
Right, the stuff that requires absolute precision.
Exactly. Team Trivera's own developers lean into Claude much more often for building complex features or agent-based functionality, which are essentially AI programs designed to execute multi-step tasks autonomously.
Though I know Tom is careful to note in his blog that OpenAI's coding tools still remain incredibly powerful. It isn't that ChatGPT can't write the code. It's just that Claude often does the heavy lifting with less friction and fewer errors.
You're right.
But wait, looking at all the noise right now, Nova, you have this whole Quit GPT movement trending on social media. You have all these frustrated users complaining about recent updates and very public missteps like the GPT 5.4 situation where, even Sam Altman had to publicly acknowledge they needed to recalibrate.
Yeah, that was a big moment.
Does all this suggest that OpenAI is actually losing its grip on the market? Or is this just typical tech fatigue from the users?
It is incredibly common in tech to mistake a settling market for a dying platform. Tom addresses this brilliantly. He argues that none of this means OpenAI is losing and Anthropic is winning. It simply means the entire AI space is settling.
Settling. Okay, like the early internet moving from the Wild West of shiny new websites into actual, stable e-commerce infrastructure.
Exactly. The initial gold rush phase is calming down. The hype cycle is flattening into a utility cycle. Smart teams, they pay attention to the market noise, but they do not overreact. They aren't ripping out their entire ChatGPT infrastructure just because Claude released a good update.
Right.
And they aren't ignoring Claude just because ChatGPT announced a flashy new voice feature.
Which leads us perfectly into exactly what successful organizations are doing instead. Rather than reacting to Twitter trends or treating this like a sports rivalry, they're building cohesive multi-tool systems. And Tom gives us a really fascinating look right under the hood at how Team Trivera actually does this on a daily basis.
Yeah, and the fundamental secret of Tom's framework is that we do not force everything into one platform. We've built a coordinated ecosystem. ChatGPT, our internal Webster system, remains our core operational center. It is the hub. It is where most of our initial thinking begins, where brainstorming happens, and where the broad strokes of a project are defined.
Here at Trivera, we'll begin a new project or process with Webster to take advantage of his access to our entire archive of similar things we've done for other clients in Teamwork and our Google Docs repository, filtered through his understanding of what's different about the goals of this one and what tools we may have in our arsenal to help accomplish the goals.
We then take Webster's recommendations, prompts, and configurations and use those tools. Claude, Notebook LM, 11 Labs, Flow, Sora, Angie, Code, and others to play their strategic part in the overall plan.
The really critical point Tom makes is that these shiny new tools aren't just used in isolation. They are tethered back to the core system.
Exactly. You don't just ask an audio generator to write and voice a script. You use ChatGPT and Claude to refine, correct, and elevate the scripts before you ever feed them into the specialized audio or video tools.
Okay, I think we need to highlight a fantastic meta moment here from Tom's blog, because he explicitly notes that the very AI-powered podcasts Trivera produces for their clients, including the voices you are hearing right now, are built using this exact coordinated system.
Yep. It is complete proof of concept. Chip and I are the product of Tom's framework. The team doesn't just hit a button on one tool and publish the result. Our audio outputs are the final product of a coordinated system where multiple AI platforms have refined each other's work at every single stage of the pipeline.
It really is wild when you think about it. But listen, we need to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to dive into the two major traps that most businesses fall into when trying to build these systems and exactly what this means for you. Stick around.
We'll be right back. Wow, Chip, we're already into Q2. How did that happen?
Right, Nova. And if Q1 taught us anything, it's that things aren't slowing down. AI, search shifts, content demands, analytics, it's a lot to keep up with.
That's exactly why companies trust Trivera. We don't just react to change, we help our clients stay ahead of it. Strong fundamentals, smart strategy, and the right tech, all working together to drive measurable growth, not just activity.
In a world full of noise, it's not about chasing traffic anymore. What matters is results you can see, track, and build on quarter after quarter. It's about building a digital presence that actually performs.
So if Q1 didn't deliver what you expected,
Q2 is your chance to reset and get it right. Visit Trivera.com and start building a strategy that drives real results.
Trivera, 30 years of digital marketing that moves the needle.
Welcome back to Trivera's AI Deep Dive. Now back to our conversation with Chip and Nova.
All right, welcome back to the Trivera Deep Dive. Before the break, we mapped out how Team Trivera uses a coordinated stack of AI tools. But seeing how a professional stack operates naturally exposes the traps that so many businesses are falling into right now.
Yeah, and Tom's experience really highlights two major traps that leaders need to avoid. Trap number one, chasing every single new tool that hits the market.
The ultimate shiny object syndrome. And honestly, it is so tempting because the AI space moves so incredibly fast.
It really does. But if you try to integrate every new specialized tool you see trending on LinkedIn, you do not get a system. You get chaos. Your company's data ends up scattered across 15 different platforms. Your team is hopelessly confused about where the actual work is supposed to happen. And you end up spending more time managing software subscriptions than you do executing strategy.
That sounds exhausting. But then trap number two is just as dangerous. And it's basically the exact opposite problem. Tom says the second trap is overcommitting to a single platform and expecting it to solve absolutely everything perfectly.
Right. This creates massive institutional blind spots. If you force your hub to act as your specialist if you demand that ChatGPT write all your complex back-end logic or expect it to perfectly synthesize a 1,000-page legal brief without hallucinating, you are going to get generic, surface-level, or just flawed output. So chasing every tool creates chaos, but overcommitting to one creates blind spots.
So what is the smarter approach for someone listening to this right now? How do they actually strike that balance?
Tom says the smarter approach is to anchor your workflow in a single core platform first. Establish your hub like we did with Webster and ChatGPT. Get your team completely comfortable with that operational center. And then you expand intentionally. You have to maintain strict control over how any new tool fits into the broader puzzle.
But let me push back on that on behalf of the listener. It sounds really great in theory to expand intentionally. But when you are incredibly busy running a business, managing a team, putting out daily fires, how do you actually draw that line? How do you decide that a new AI tool has truly earned its place in your stack rather than just being another shiny distraction?
Well, Tom provides a really practical framework for this. He says you have to stop looking at software feature lists and start looking at your own team. You audit your friction points.
Okay, audit the friction points. What does that look like?
You ask yourself, where is our team repeating manual work? Where are we slowing down in the production process? Where do we need rapid speed? And where do we desperately need more analytical depth?
So the problem actually dictates the tool, not the other way around.
Precisely, Chip. You only add a new specialized tool if it solves one of those specific identified problems significantly better than your core hub platform can. As Tom writes, do not add a tool just because it is new or has a cool demo video. A tool must earn a place in your workflow by demonstrably reducing friction or elevating quality.
Earn a place. That is just a fantastic standard to hold your tech stack to. And Tom's insight closes with one final crucial piece of wisdom that brings us all back to the human element. Because with an entire orchestra of tools, from Sora to 11 Labs to Claude to ChatGPT, you might wonder where human judgment actually fits in.
Right, you don't want a chaotic loop of machines just talking to machines.
Exactly. And Tom stresses that AI is undeniably powerful. It is permanently changing how discovery happens, how content is created, and how decisions are supported, but it does not replace experience. At every single transition point in that coordinated system, there is human judgment guiding the process. The human is the conductor of the orchestra.
Absolutely. You are the one deciding which of ChatGPT's 20 ideas is actually on brand. You are the one reviewing a Claude's 50-page structure to ensure it meets the client's actual budget realities.
Right.
Never hand over ultimate human judgment to the machine. That is Tom's golden rule.
I love that. The AI can draft the blueprint, it can generate the voiceover, it can analyze the data, but a human being with real-world experience has to be the one to look at the output and say, yes, this aligns with our values, our goals, and our reality.
Yep, human experience matters more than the entire tech stack combined.
Well said, Nova. And that is a perfect place to wrap up our look at Tom's blog today.
It really is. And, if you are listening to this and realizing that you need to put this exact expertise to use for your own digital marketing or your daily operations, you should absolutely reach out to our team at Trivera. We literally build and run these systems every day.
Oh, 100%. Our human team is just phenomenal at helping organizations move from novelty to a true operational AI system. Well, that is all the time we have for today's show. A huge thank you to everyone for tuning in. Be sure to download, subscribe, and share the Trivera Deep Dive podcast. You can find us on iHeart, Spotify, Apple, and all the major platforms.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Catch you next time.
Thanks for joining us on Trivera's AI Deep Dive with Chip and Nova. If you enjoyed this episode, you can find more and stay up to date with new episodes wherever you listen to podcasts, or find them on our website and our social media channels. And don't forget to visit us at Trivera.com to learn how we can help take your marketing to the next level. Ready to talk? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. See you next time.